Episode 3, 5-1 Indiana Jones Moments.
Well, no, but, wait. Never mind.
Hey, Dr. Jones, no time for love. We got company.
Hello and welcome to episode 3 of 5-1, the best list podcast out there, featuring a countdown from a panel of experts on any topic you can imagine. Today, we are featuring the best moments in the Indiana Jones saga and our style of counting down from 5 to 1. For those of you that are new to the show, the premise is pretty simple. Each week, our panel of experts will have a new topic to discuss, and we will each run down our list of the best of that subject from 5 to 1. Topics can really range to anything or anyone: movies, TV, sports, food and drink, places, books, trends, people, animals, colors, numbers, anything, I guess. Really anything we can think of or that you can think of. From today's episode, your panel of hosts is comprised of 3 rad Indiana Jones experts. My name is Ark of the Covenant Chris, and I am joined by 2 amazing, astute, and hilarious sons, Jett and Raiders of the Lost Arcade. Get it? Arcade? Okay, good. Let's kick this episode off with our general thoughts on the Indiana Jones. Kade, what is your opinion on the saga? How does it make you feel? What do you think about it?
I think it's my second favorite series of movies behind Star Wars. It's a very different movie from some sagas I've seen. You know, I find it an amazing series, and every time I watch it, I always get into it for a week and look up YouTube videos and stuff.
What about you, Jett? How do you feel about Indiana Jones?
Kind of the same as Kade. I don't really have much thoughts how to describe it.
Well, why did you pick this for our topic today? You picked it last time.
Well, I know a lot about it, but I can't really describe it that well for some reason.
Okay, well, this is a podcast and we describe things on here. That's the only way people can understand what we're saying. So let's work on that a little bit, yeah? All right.
Okay.
Well, in my mind, there are several gigantic and influential movie sagas that all of us love. And Indiana Jones is certainly among the top of those franchises for us, I think for all of us. And with it being as important as it is to us, it was only a matter of time before we had it as a featured topic on our show in some capacity. Maybe down the road it'll come up again in another episode. We could do characters like we did for Star Wars in our first episode. And I think in fact the movie franchises that matter a lot to us, and the 2 that have already come up on this show, Star Wars and Indiana Jones, we could do a 5-1 episode on just those and rank our top 5 favorite franchises. And Indiana Jones would make that list for sure, probably for all 3 of us, I think. So I know why you chose it. I think it's a good choice, and I'm really interested to see how you guys put your list together, because there are different ways to interpret 5-1. 5 favorite scenes, or the 5 best scenes, or the 5 most memorable scenes, or whatever it is. I kind of did things that left memories in my mind, right? So let's see how you guys put your list together. Jett, you want to go first this time?
Sure.
All right, what you got for number 5?
For number 5, I had the voodoo doll because, to me, in all the Indiana Jones, you see, there's only one scene, and that is in number 2 of kids fighting, and that's when Short Round fights
The Maharaja?
that girl or guy.
It's a boy.
Boy.
I found that scene pretty cool. I always wondered in the beginning why Indiana Jones was getting so hurt when she stabbed into a doll. I didn't know what a voodoo doll was, so I was just wondering, what it was.
Yeah, I think the Temple of Doom for a long time has been not everybody's, but most people's least favorite Indiana Jones movie. That's until Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out and pretty much took the least favorite on everybody's list. But I think it's starting to make a comeback. I think it's the most underrated Indiana Jones movie. I really like it. I think it's really good. It's a lot different than the other ones. It's a lot darker, and that voodoo doll is an example of that kind of darkness in that movie and the kids fighting. But I agree, that's a cool scene. Anything with Short Round in it is good with me. I think he's awesome.
Short Round is pretty fun to watch.
All right, Kade, what do you got for your number 5?
My number 5 would have to be from the same movie, Indiana Jones on the tracks, or from the scene where all the kids, where they find the keys and they help the kids escape. So when they get out of the cave, and the water's bursting everywhere, I thought that scene was pretty cool, with them like jumping over like a roller coaster, over the lava and stuff. I found that.
Yeah, so like cool. The minecart ride, basically.
Yeah, minecart.
Yeah, that part is cool, and it looks like it would be a fun roller coaster ride. Jett, you got any thoughts on that scene?
Not really.
Oh yeah, and the guards trying to catch Indiana Jones and all like the kids throwing rocks at them and like pulling traps and beating all of them up, even though they have whips and swords and stuff. So.
Oh yeah, I also like that part when like I'm surprised the kids would throw rocks at them because if I was a kid, I would be thinking he can. I wouldn't throw rocks because they will. What if Indiana Jones lost? Like they would get destroyed.
No, because there's probably hundreds of kids in there against probably 10 adults. I'd say at that moment until all the other guards came when, the master guy, the guy that pulls the heart out.
Mola
Ram, yeah, he sends everybody to come.
Yeah, no, it is a cool part. And it's an exciting part, and it's I looked at several moments in that movie to try to put on my list too, and that was one of them that I also considered.
All right, any more thoughts?
I'm good.
All right, time for my number 5. 5 is alive. Johnny 5. What's the movie? You guys don't know that movie?
Probably not.
I don't know.
Short Circuit. We need to watch that one. Okay, my number 5. Okay, I'll play the scene here in a minute. I'm just gonna say the 2 words, and you guys tell me if you know what part I'm talking about. Okay? No ticket.
Oh, on the blimp when they're about to leave and Indiana Jones just as a bartender. And the guy's walking around, and he's pulling all the newspapers down looking for the guys. And Indiana Jones throws them out the window, and he says, "No ticket." Everybody pulls out their ticket because they're scared they're going to get thrown out the window.
You got it, boss.
No ticket.
Yeah, you nailed it. That's the scene I was talking about.
Is it from number 3, right?
It is from number 3, The Last Crusade. You described the scene perfectly, Kade, so I won't do it again. But the reason I like this scene so much is because part of the biggest reason the Indiana Jones movies are so as good as they are is because the character of Indiana Jones, really carries the whole franchise. He's one of the greatest cinema characters of all time. And this moment is a perfect example of who he is because he punches the guy in the face and throws him out of a blimp, and he's a badass, right? So it shows how badass he is, but it also shows a sense of humor and how charming Harrison Ford can be because of the no ticket line right after, and everybody rushes to pull out their tickets. And it's funny, it's a moment of comedy, and it shows how cool Indiana Jones is, and I think it perfectly summarizes the character of Indiana Jones. Any thoughts on that?
Nope.
Yeah, I thought how he landed on all of the briefcases after when he fell out. If he were to, if he were throwing other people out, which other people were assuming he was going to do, since if they didn't have a ticket, then they would have just landed on the ground.
Yeah, I like how they did that because, there are some pretty kind of like horror type moments in the movies, but it's not a rated R movie. It's not a horror or gruesome type movie. So the fact that they had him land on suitcases and he got beat up and thrown out of the window, it made the point. He didn't have to land on the ground and go splat at the same time, right?
True.
Like a fly.
All right, Jett, what do you got for number 4?
It is from number 1, when the that big guy that's bald beats up Indiana Jones next to that chopper. If that wasn't in order, if one didn't come out, if that was like the newest one, you're like, how is Indiana Jones getting beat up like that? I know like from number 2 he got beat up like that, but that girl had a voodoo doll, but like I found that pretty cool that Indiana Jones actually got beat up in a fair fight.
Yeah, I remember playing that in the Indiana Jones Lego game. That was a fun mission to do. It was a pretty easy mission, All you had to do was walk around the plane or a helicopter or whatever it was. It was a plane, yeah. Until his wing.
The
Propeller.
Yeah, that scene is really cool. I thought about putting that on my list too. I picked a different moment that's kind of similar to that, and I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, that guy was huge, right? And he was.
Is he an actor in other movies?
I think so. I think I've seen him before. I think he played other characters in Indiana Jones, but I can't remember who they were. I'd have to look it up. But yeah, a really cool moment. And that guy's like, he's just a big ball of muscle, and he's a tough guy, and he's gonna probably win in a hand-to-hand fight against most people, including Indiana Jones. But Indiana was smarter and used his wits to win that fight, and the propeller blade made the decision on who won that one.
True that.
All right, what do you got for number 4, Kade?
My number 4 has got to be when they're at the palace and when they go through the secret door and they find all those bugs. That one of my favorite parts of that little scene right there is Short Round. He says that it sounds like he's stepping on fortune cookies.
Oh yeah.
I found that funny, and them getting trapped and all the spikes and stuff. And
I like the part like they get trapped the first time, and then the girl comes and saves them. And then she hits the switch again, and Short Round goes, "I didn't do it this time."
Yeah, the first time he stood on the wall and activated, the spikes to come out.
Jett, you got any thoughts on that part? Those bugs creep you out a little bit?
Well, when I first watched it, I was really disgusted. I hated that part, but when I grew up, I kind of liked it more because I wasn't much as afraid of bugs and scary things.
If I was stuck in that room, would you be able to reach in that hole where all the bugs were and pull it, or would you not do it because the bugs are in there?
I would do it. I would just do it fast.
What if you had to eat the bugs?
I'd be down with that. I've eaten a bug before.
Jett, you're gonna let your dad get crushed?
Oh, you! I thought it was Indiana Jones.
No, it's me.
Of course, I would do it. Even
are
though
you sure? What if you had to eat all of those and they had black olives on top of them?
I would still have to.
Yeah. I remember when I first watched that, I was scared that he was gonna lose his hat. When he slides into the door, I was like, "Oh no, his signature hat! He's gonna lose it!" And then he reaches under at the last second.
I actually have that as one of my honorable mentions: grabbing the hat in the Temple of Doom. It shows you how much of the hat is part of Indy's character. It's part of him, just like his whip.
Even though his arm was about to get crushed, he would still grab the hat and feel it.
That's right. It's part of him. All right. Any other thoughts on that scene?
Well, speaking of the hat, from number 4, when his son is about to put it on, he takes it away. I found that pretty funny.
I was thinking about that moment too for my honorable mentions. I know the reason you like this scene so much, though, Jett. It's because he has to push on the boobs of the statue.
Yeah, I thought you found
that was before.
That's how he got in there.
Yeah.
I know, but that's disgusting.
You've memorized that scene, haven't you?
Yeah.
What? The girl even did it too.
On the wrong one. All right, I'll go to my number 4. This one's kind of more than just a scene, but I count it as a memorable moment. It's the whole opening sequence to Raiders of the Lost Ark. When they walk in and he's got that guide Satipo with him. Is it Satipo or Sapito? I think it's Satipo. And they got spiders all over the backs.
Yeah.
And then he goes, and I love the part when he goes to take the idol, that golden head statue, and he has to replace it with a bag of sand, and he's weighing it. He pours some of the sand out, and the light shining down on it. It's just beautifully filmed, and it doesn't work, so they have to escape. And then Satipo doesn't help him, but gets spiked afterwards, and he's stuck on that gate. And then the giant boulder chases Indy. Go ahead, Jett.
That's my number 3.
Oh, it is. Well, good. It'll roll right into your number 3. We can both talk about it. And I love when the giant boulder chases Indy. And the reason I love this whole part, it sets the stage for the whole series. And what I mean by that is when I think of adventure movies, of the genre of adventure movies, Indiana Jones is the first thing that comes to mind. First and last, really. It is the ultimate adventure movie, or the whole saga, all of them are. And you even see it when other companies want to advertise some type of adventure and whatever they're selling. They'll use the letters, the font, and the colors, the lettering of the Indiana Jones title. You see it all over the place, and it's synonymous with adventure. And this the whole opening sequence just nailed that, set the tone right from the beginning.
I think it's stupid for Tipo to betray him. He knew there was a lot of traps, and he knew Indiana Jones was more skilled than him. And why would he try to betray him?
He was greedy. He wanted the idol for himself. He could sell it and make money off of it.
Yeah, that's a very iconic scene in the series. You know, when he picks the golden head up and he screams the chant he says. And I remember there's this kid at school who loves the Indiana Jones series, and we did a project on on you have to choose like a biome or a place, and then you have to like do like research on it and what's in it and popular memorable things in there. And he started off the thing with the title. The font, and the colors, and like it showed a plane, traveling, from Indiana Jones, and like it showed like artifacts in there. He had like the golden head, It didn't really match what he was doing, but it looked cool.
That is cool, and I love the part in. Is it in the Lego game or no? Is it the Lego game or the Lego those like little Lego Star Wars movies they make? Where they have that scene and they use C-3PO's head.
Yes, it was in the Lego. They after you complete part of the mission, it shows that part, and then you have to run, but it shows him holding a C-3PO's head.
Yeah, I love how they have so much crossover between Star Wars and Indiana Jones.
The Obi-Wan.
Yeah, Club Obi-Wan, and I mean they're both born of George Lucas's storytelling brain. Indiana Jones is successful because he collaborates with Steven Spielberg, who's one of the greatest directors of all time and has directed many very classic movies, especially in the 80s, and just a perfect combination. Anything else, Jett? Cade? On the
good.
Jett, you said it's your number 3. Do you have anything you want to say about it before we roll to Cade's?
Not really.
Okay, moving on. Cade, what is your number 3?
My number 3 is the Club Obi-Wan part, the scene until when he gets on the plane. I found that scene pretty cool. When the girl's performing, and then like the deal, and then it was pretty sad though when his friend died. When he got shot, and the diamond.
Yeah, the whole scene is really cool. With they have the big music act in the beginning, and then the shooting up of the club, and he's running behind that giant gong.
Oh yeah, I thought that was awesome. And then he jumped out the window and ran short around the car. Yeah,
exactly. It's a really cool scene. And I did love, I put it as one of my honorable mentions when they get out of the club and you can see the sign in the background and it's Club Obi-Wan, which is another one of those crossovers we were just talking about. And I also, for whatever reason, it's always stuck out in my mind as a memorable part when they finally get away and Indy gets on that plane and he says, "See you later, Lao She," and then he closes the door and on the side of the plane it says Lao She.
I was gonna talk about that part, but like one of my favorite lines, he goes, "Yes, see you later, Indiana Jones." And when it said Lao She, I was like surprised.
Yeah, exactly. So he knows that he's still got the upper hand because he's on one of his own planes. Good one. I like that one. What are we on, number 3?
Yeah.
Okay. My number 3 is the Cairo swordsman shooting.
Oh, I think I know what this one is.
Yeah, so Indy he's in a fight, and there's this kind of like ninja-looking swordsman out there. He's wearing all black, and he pulls out this crazy curved blade. Kate, what are those called? Those kind of blades?
I don't know. I don't know what those are called.
I can't remember what it's called, but it's one of those.
I know the Chinese version, but they're not in China. But.
Yeah, but it's one of those curved blades, and he does this really like impressive action sequence where he's like swinging the sword around trying to intimidate Indy. It's very impressive of his swordsmanship, and Indy just kind of pulls out his gun and shoots him, right? And it's a funny moment, and it really worked in the movie, and it, I still laugh when I see it. It's very effective, and I really love the story behind it. Is that Indy and several others on the set were battling dysentery. You know what that is? It's like a illness of your stomach, makes you not feel very good in your stomach. Yeah, it's usually from drinking water that's not clean, and they were filming on site in a foreign country, and they got sick, and Indy wasn't feeling good, or Harrison wasn't feeling good, I should say. So instead of this long, drawn-out fight that they were supposed to have with using his whip against the guy's sword, he just pulled out the gun and shot him, and it worked so well that everybody was like, hey, let's just use that instead, and now it's a very memorable scene from the movie. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to say.
You don't have a lot to say.
That was my number 2.
Oh, well, go ahead and talk about it then.
Yeah, I found that scene funny when I first saw it. I was like expecting like Indy to go at him and like having a good battle, and he just shoots him and turns around. Everyone's like, "Oh my gosh!" Like they're crowding around, like, "Oh crap, these guys are gonna have a big fight. I want to see this." And then he just sighs and bang, shoots him. I thought that was funny.
It worked really well. All right, Jett, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is when it's from number 3 when he's running from the guys and he lands in the snakes. Honestly, it's not a big part of the story, but when you first realize, like, Indiana Jones is afraid of something, he's not afraid of anything. He's not afraid of spiders. He's not afraid of anything but snakes.
Yeah, he hates snakes, and they make it a point in the movies to always have some type of snake there in some scene that he, has to. I think, in the first one, he hops on that plane after he escapes, and there's a snake in the plane, and he's like, why does it have to be snakes? And then the part when he jumps in and it's all snakes in there when he's a kid. And then there's, even in number 4, the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, he, either him or he was drowning in quicksand, and somebody, I think it was Mutt, tried to throw him a rope, but it was actually a snake, and he didn't want to grab it because it was a snake.
He's like, just pretend it's a rope. It's a rope. He's like, say it's a rope. He's like, it's a rope.
Oh, that's right. Do any of you remember what Indy's father is afraid of?
Rats.
Rats, very good, yeah. And anybody else afraid of anything? Any other animals?
I used to be afraid of rhinos.
Yeah, you were afraid of rhinos.
I'm indeed afraid of snakes.
You're afraid of snakes?
Well, after watching Indiana Jones number 4 for the first time, I was afraid of ants, and I've been afraid of ants ever since.
Yeah, we don't get those kind of ants around here, thank goodness. We just get your garden variety normal ants. All right, Kade, you already did your number 2, so we'll jump to me. My number 2 are the maps with the red lines and the planes, which we kind of touched on already. It's a small thing, it's a simple thing, but I've always loved it. It's a cool way, an effective way, to show the geography of where they are and where they're going. And in most of the indie movies, it spans the whole globe. They're in Asia, they're in Africa for different parts. They're in South America. They're all over America.
India.
They're in Europe. They're in India, which is Asia. And the map is a real easy way just to kind of show you where they're going. And they're very memorable. I made a joke once on Facebook. I put a post that I'm pretty sure I learned most of my geography as a kid from watching Indiana Jones movies. And it's a joke, but it's kind of true because you're a kid, you don't know where those places are, and when it shows you on the map, it's a cool way to demonstrate that in the movie and to show you where they're going.
And it kind of like fades the plane, when they're traveling. You see like the geography around it, like mountains and like lakes and rivers and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Jett, you got anything to say about the maps and the red lines, or like everything else you're going to say, nope, I'm good?
Well, no, but wait, never mind. It depends. I don't count that as a scene because they do that in every movie, and you have to choose which one, what movie is the best.
Yeah, I'm picking all of them from every movie combined into one. Just make a big scene where you cut out all the map scenes and put them all together from all the movies, and I'd watch it. All right, are we ready to move on to our number 1s?
Yes.
All right, Jett, what you got?
I don't even have to look at my paper. My number 1, the most popular scene for sure, it is the boulder, because that is so cool in the movie when he's running away from the boulder. It is awesome.
Yeah, that's my number 1 too. I was gonna talk about that more, but he covered some of it. I've seen in many video games and stuff, they'll have a scene where someone's running away from a boulder, or in every cartoon I've ever seen, they always have Star Wars specials, holiday special, but sometimes they even have an Indiana Jones special, and they'll have somebody running away from a boulder.
Yeah, it is. You're right. It is the most iconic part of any of the saga from any of the movies in the series, and I love it too. And I actually worked for, I don't know if you guys knew this, when I was in college, I worked for a website for like a summer, basically, when I was in between semesters at school, that did movie reviews, and I got to get free press passes to opening day movies, and I'd go and I'd watch it and I'd write a review and they'd post it online. And one of the movies that I got to see during that summer was it was a Tom Cruise movie called Minority Report. It's a really, really good movie, actually, and it was directed by Steven Spielberg. And they had a big chase scene in the movie, kind of in the middle towards the end, and it was a really cool futuristic chase scene because the movie takes place in the future. But I remember in the review I wrote, man, it feels, still Spielberg at his best in action movies, it feels like Indiana Jones running away from the boulder, except, a couple hundred years later or whatever it was in the timeline. But you're absolutely right. It is the most memorable scene from the movie, the most iconic. And I almost put it as my number 1. The reason I didn't was because when I was a kid, I did watch the movies as a child, and kind of like Star Wars, my favorite movie is not Return of the Jedi, but it's the one I remember the most because it came out when I was at least alive. The first two, I wasn't even born yet. And I probably watched it before I watched the other ones. I watched it more than I watched the other ones, and I remember it more. So it holds a special place for me. And the same could be said for The Last Crusade, the number 3 movie. It's not my favorite Indiana Jones movie. I like Raiders of the Lost Ark better. But it is really good, and I do love it. And I remember it more because I probably watched it more as a kid. It came out when I was old enough to go to movies and remember seeing movies and things like that. And for that reason, instead of the boulder scene, I picked the 3 tests at the end of that movie when he has to go into that like cool looking building that's in the side of the wall. Yeah. And he has to pass 3 tests to find the Holy Grail and save his dad, right?
I had trouble putting that on my list too.
Well, okay, so he goes in, and the 3 tests are he's got to, the penitential pass, you remember that part?
Yeah, I remember that.
He's got to. That basically means he's got to get on his knees and duck under that blade that's going to cut off his head, and then he does it like a little forward roll to get away from it. And he's got to spell Jehovah, and he forgets that it starts with an I, and nearly falls through, and those little darts are shooting at him. And then my favorite part actually is the leap of faith. Right, so he's got to leap from that lion's head, and it looks like there's a giant gap there. And he takes a step, and then the camera turns to the side, and you see, oh man, there's a path there. It was just invisible because it was blending in with the wall, right? And I remember watching that as a kid, thinking, how is he going to get across there? And then when they did that, I was like, man, that's cool, and it was just a camera trick, but it looked really cool, very memorable scene, and I love that part. Okay, and then he gets in there, and the other guy, the bad guy, whatever his name is, Donovan. Is that Walter Donovan?
Yeah.
He follows him in there, and he picks the wrong cup, the one that wasn't the true Holy Grail.
Yeah, because he's
he was a carpenter, yeah. And then Indy picks the correct one, but before he does, you get to watch the face, his face like age hundreds of years in a matter of seconds, and it's not like a CGI that we get in today's movies, but it was a really cool effect for the movies back then, and it reminded me of the bad guy in Raiders of the Lost Ark when his face melted from the Ark of the Covenant, and which is another top 5 worthy moment, I think. Those moments kind of make Raiders of the Lost Ark. It is a family movie, but it makes it more edgy and darker a little bit, and it's almost like a horror moment in those movies, and both of them are really cool when they do that. Any thoughts on the face melting or anything?
I found it pretty cool. I wonder how they. It was just like I wonder how they did that. Was it just like? It
was a practical effect, so it was like a model that they built and melted, basically.
Oh, so they actually did that.
Yeah.
My favorite. When you said your favorite was when he steps on the thing, I like that part a lot, but I wouldn't say it's the most popular, and I wouldn't say it's my most favorite. My favorite's that cup, like when he drinks.
Yeah, the Holy Grail.
Awesome.
Yeah. So you like the part when the guy drinks out of the wrong one, or when he drinks out of the correct one?
When he drinks out the correct one, because at first I saw his face and Indiana Jones picked the wrong one because it looked like he did, but then he picked the right one.
You have chosen wisely. And then he takes the cup out there and he pours it on his dad's belly and has him drink a little bit.
And then he loses the cup. That's legit the Holy Grail. There's only one.
Well, it wasn't his fault. It was, who was it? It was either Elsa. I think it was Elsa tried to take it past the seal after the guy warned him not to, right?
Yeah.
And that caused the whole, earthquake thing, and the cup fell at that point. But, what is he going to do with it when he has it? It's cool that he found it. He saved his dad's life with it. I think that's enough, right?
True.
He wouldn't get to keep it anyways, I don't think.
He found it.
Yeah.
Finders keepers.
Any other thoughts on the end of The Last Crusade?
No. Can I have some honorable mentions, though?
Yeah, I'm sure we all have some. Go ahead, Kade.
My honorable mentions are, even though I hated the ants, it was still a cool scene. With the sickle blocking the ants in the big fight. It was kind of gross though when all the ants covered the first body. The guy running away, that was pretty disgusting.
Yeah, it covered his whole body and then pulled him down into the ant hole, into the ant pile or whatever. Yeah.
It got in his nose.
Yeah, it was kind of gross. I had that. I tried to think of a moment from the Crystal Skull to put on my top 5, and I couldn't. There were too many that I had to cut out of the original 3 movies that I love I couldn't make room for any, but I did consider the ants. I also considered the part of the movie when they're trying to hunt down their friend Ox, right?
Yeah.
And they go to where he was being held prisoner, and all over the walls and the floor he had scribbled the word return in different languages. And that was kind of like mysterious. Why was he doing that? And they followed some clues, and they ended up finding the grave of Francisco de Orellana. I don't know how to pronounce that.
And then they open the thing that was keeping his body like still like intact and not turned into dust or like a skeleton.
Yeah.
And then right when they opened it, like it let all the air and oxygen and stuff, and it like
and it decayed right away. Yeah. And it led them. They were trying to search for this mysterious place called Akator, and all of that part was really interesting to me when I watched it for the first time. And it never really panned out. They never really connected the dots for me in a way that made sense. Kind of like how the other Indiana Jones movie, he followed clues when he was looking for in the Last Crusade, when they were in Venice and they were looking for that stone tablet, the shield of the other knight that he did a rubbing of before the place caught on fire, and that made sense to me. I could connect the dots there. The mystery was cool and it had a lot of build up, but it just never really came to fruition. So I couldn't put it on my top 5. But when I did watch it for the first time, I was very interested in those parts until it just didn't pan out.
I have 2 more honorable mentions. My first one is when they're in the graveyard, and all the guys start shooting stuff at him and like attacking them. When one guy my favorite part then was when the guy's about to shoot his son. Indy runs up and blows on the other side of the dart hole, and it goes in his mouth and it kills that guy instead. I thought that was pretty cool. And my last honorable mention was from the scene when they're being chased by like the Indian-looking guys, and Ox pulls out like the skull, and Ox pulls out the skull and scares all of them away. From that part till the end, I found really cool with like the aliens and stuff at first when I saw it, and with like with the UFO stuff. I thought that was cool. I did not expect that at all. I thought the entire thing just get covered in water and buried.
Yeah. The end. I mean, by the end of that movie, I was kind of like disappointed, I guess is the right word.
They could have done a lot better with that.
I was really excited to see a new Indiana Jones movie. It had been a very long time since The Last Crusade. And Jett, you weren't old enough yet, but Kade, you were, so we got to go see it in the theater, and it was a fun experience, and I'm glad we got to do it, but the movie was a disappointment for me.
It wasn't bad, though. It was pretty good, but the other ones are a lot better.
I think it takes a beating, kind of like the Phantom Menace does in the Star Wars universe, because there was so much build-up, and people had waited such a long time, and it wasn't as good as people hoped it would be. In the case, I like the Phantom Menace, and I don't hate the Crystal Skull, but it's a lot worse to me than the other movies.
For the Phantom Menace, I find that kind of weird. I didn't see what was wrong with the Phantom Menace at all. It was awesome.
Well,
cutscenes, a new awesome character.
Yeah, the thing is, you saw the Phantom Menace without waiting 16 years to see the Phantom Menace, right? It came out in 1999. The last Star Wars movie before that, Return of the Jedi, was in 1983. So people thought it was done, and then they announced they were going to make more, kind of like they did with The Force Awakens, and it was huge. Everybody was so excited, and it just wasn't really anything like the first 3 Star Wars movies. There was a lot more politics, a lot more talking in the Senate, and the actors weren't that great. Some of the actors weren't great, and they didn't like the fact that Anakin was a kid, because they were ready to see Anakin, the badass that we had heard about in the original trilogy. And Jar Jar got on a lot of people's nerves. There were some very cool parts. I mean, Darth Maul was awesome, but he was barely in it, and he died. Qui-Gon was really cool, but he died also. I think a lot of people just felt kind of, after a huge build-up, they were a little bit let down.
Speaking of Jar Jar Binks, why is he only in one movie? Because
he's in the other movies, but very little. The reason being because the Phantom Menace came out and everybody hated him, so they're not going to put him in episodes 2 and 3 when nobody likes him. Now, he was still in there a little bit, and I think that was George Lucas saying, "Hey, he's my character, and I'm going to put him in if I want to." I made this movie for kids. My kids think Jar Jar's funny. I'm still going to put him in there, but he wasn't as big of a character as he was in the first one because nobody liked him.
Does George Lucas still make any movies of Star Wars?
He's done with Star Wars. He sold Lucasfilm to Disney. He helped consult on the story writing for The Force Awakens, but they abandoned that script and rewrote it. So I'm sure he did have some influence still, but he's been on record as saying that it's not the movie he would have made. He said it in a nice way, but he kind of thought that they were too safe. They didn't take any chances. They didn't like push the boundaries or go forward in any way. They kind of redid other things Star Wars movies have already done. A lot of people have compared The Force Awakens to A New Hope, saying it's basically the same movie. It's just repackaged in a modern film, basically.
They did that with Frozen and Lion King. He or she leaves for a while, and like back home, everything falls apart. I saw this on like a video. They kind of like rewrote it. They kind of rewrote it.
Yeah, I haven't seen Frozen, so I can't speak to that. But I did love The Lion King.
You do not want to see Frozen.
I heard it's really good.
No, it is not.
It's probably a good Disney movie.
Okay, do you have any other honorable mentions?
Okay, do you hate Frozen?
Maybe being chased, and the movie one, being chased by the Indians. I found that part really cool and fun in the game too. Just everybody shooting arrows and throwing spears at them. I thought that was pretty good, nice.
Is that in the beginning, right after he gets out of the cave?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that part was cool. I consider that part of the opening sequence that I put on my list. Anything else for you, Kate, on honorable mentions?
Nope.
Jett, you got some you want to talk about?
No, I don't have any.
You said you did. You sure?
No, I said I didn't.
Oh, okay. Well, I got a couple more. Okay, here's a good one from Temple of Doom. This scene is disgusting to me, and I don't like watching it. However, I'm really glad it's in the movies because it's funny, and I don't know, it adds some humor to the movie.
I already think I know what you're talking about. When they're eating that disgusting food.
That's right. The monkey brains and the snake surprise. And there's one guy in particular. He's one of the Indian guys who's kind of bigger, and he's got a big beard, and he's like slurping the food. Yeah. When he eats, I'm like, oh, that is so gross. And then she asks for soup, and they bring it out, and there's eyeballs in it.
The eyeballs one didn't really disgust me that much. It didn't look that disgusting to me.
Yeah.
I wonder what eyes they were from, though.
I don't know. They looked human, but I'm sure they were something else. But yeah, that part is gross. But it's memorable, and I think it's funny. I like the part in, I think it's The Last Crusade, when Indy is disguised as a Nazi and he accidentally bumps into Adolf Hitler. And he's holding the Holy Grail diary, like the thing that everybody's after, and Hitler grabs it and autographs it and hands it back to him. I thought that part was funny. Like
that's Adolf Hitler right there, like
right. The end of Temple of Doom, the end scene when he's standing on the rope bridge, and he's got his sword in his hand and he's holding it on on the edge, and everybody's like, is he going to do it? Is he going to cut the bridge? Because he'll kill himself if he does, and everybody else. And he mentions to Short Round. He gives him some like code in whatever language Short Round speaks.
And they tie their arms and feet.
Yeah, they like grab the ropes, and then he cuts it. And it's just a really cool scene. And, executed very well. And then Molo Ram falls down and gets eaten by alligators down at the bottom. Really cool part. And then my last one was any scene with Short Round. I'm a fan of. I think he's awesome. Data from the Goonies.
Yeah, he's a pretty enjoyable character to watch. He's pretty funny too. So every time I saw him, I was like, "Oh, Short Round scene again." I love these scenes.
Yeah, no, totally cool. Jett, you got anything on Short Round?
Not really.
Okay, I didn't think so. After doing this is our third recording now, and I'm sure our show is going to evolve, and we'll think of ways to improve it and new topics to talk about and new segments to add to our show. But 3 recordings now in like the past 4 days, I think. It was pretty good. And I don't care if anyone ever listens to any of our podcasts, because just making them is a lot of fun. And when I sit down to come up with my list, I get to relive whatever the topic is, and that's a cool part. It reminds me of, like, making this list reminded me of why we love Indiana Jones as much as we do. It makes me want to go watch it again. And then to top it off, talking about our favorite moments with you two, hearing how it's influenced you or impacted your life in some way, whatever the topic is, it's my favorite part. And I'm really grateful we decided to do this, and I get to spend this time with you guys. It's fun.
The next episode we will be doing is the top 5 Marvel superheroes.
Okay. You good with that, Kade?
Maybe.
All right. Do we have any final thoughts on Indiana Jones moments before we close this one out?
Second best series of all time.
What about you, Jett?
Maybe.
Maybe. Save it, because we'll do a top 5 for that one, or a 5 to 1. Well, thank you for everyone for taking the time to listen. Check out our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/5to1podcast. The 5 and the 1 are numbers, not spelled out. So facebook.com/5to1podcast. Give us your opinions there. Let us know why you agree or why you think we're idiots. We welcome all feedback. It's also a great spot to leave us ideas for future episodes, and we definitely welcome those as well. Please take the time to give us a review on iTunes or whatever Android offers for podcasts. We welcome all feedback, and it helps our podcast to gain exposure. We're also working on getting some more avenues of communication set up. Stay tuned for updates on other ways to contact us. We'll have an Instagram, an email, a Twitter, voicemail, pigeons, owls. However you want to get a hold of us, we'll find a way to do that. So listen in next time and join us when we talk on 5 to 1 for our discussion on
Top 5 Marvel superheroes.
Maybe
5 to 1 Marvel
No, we're gonna do it. I already
superheroes.
decided it.
Okay, I get to decide the next one.
I'm the one that picks out the episode. I've been doing it for the past 2.
No, okay, yeah, past 2.
All right, are we done?
Yes.
Bye.
Good night. Love you.